So since my last video, I upcycled a duvet cover into a top. My son has since asked if I would make him some trousers using the same fabric. So here we go. I'm using my favorite pattern makers again, Twig and Tail. This is their Pixie Essentials pattern, and I'll link that pattern in the description below. This is what people do, right? If you like this sort of like upcycling, repurposing fabric type content, please do hit subscribe as there will be lots more to come. Let's dive right into making. This pattern goes down to like a knee length, but I really want it to be full length. I've grabbed another pair of his trousers that fit really well, and I'm just going to kind of like lay them on top, and then I'm just gonna sort of drag this down to see how wide I want it to be and where I want it to be. Yeah, so I probably want it about like there. I'm just going to mark it out down here, just for that straight line bit, just to connect it to the rest of the pattern. I mean, ideally I could just like redraw the pattern and cut it out again, but I'm being a little bit lazy. Since I've already started chalking, I'm just gonna trace the rest of it out with chalk just to make it a little bit easier when I cut it out. So there's the front piece traced out. So for the back piece, I just need to measure, how much I added to the front piece and add the same to the back piece. 17.5 centimeters. So I'll add that to the back piece. 17.5 centimeters. Just going to drag that down so that I've got the outline of it. Again, I really recommend probably just redrawing it. So that looks about right. Is that about 17.5? Perfect, 17.5. Trace. Right, so now that I have my front and my back traced out, I'm going to cut them, and then I'll flip them over and cut them out again, but in the mirrored direction. I've got all of my pattern pieces cut, and I've decided to do the contrast fabric for the waistband and the pockets and the cuffs, and this was the opposite side of the beetle duvet, so I thought that would look really cute to be some little contrast accent bits. So yeah, I'm just going to start sewing it up and we'll see what it looks like. I'm going to be honest, I've never really done a pocket like this before, so I'm not really sure what I'm doing. I'm like trying to read the instructions of the pattern as well, and it says to like flip the pocket. Is it like that? I'm gonna base that little tiddly bit, and we're just gonna keep going. I think I've messed up. So I did the front, and I put the pocket on the front, and I was going to attach the front to the back. I'm missing like this kind of triangle piece from the front piece. But when I was reading the pattern, because it has a line like this along the pattern piece, and then it also has like that bit on the pattern piece. But when I was reading the instructions, it said, on the cutting instructions, it said cut along that diagonal line for a nice pocket finish. And I was like, okay, great, I'll cut along that line. But now I'm getting to the step where it's saying to attach the front and the back. At least my length is right that I measured. I kind of messed up, but I didn't mess up. So I read the instruction as flip the pocket, and I flipped the pocket like this, and then folded it over. But I'm supposed to just leave it wrong sides out and then flip it, which gives me my missing triangle piece. Okay, so I'm gonna line this front piece up with the back piece and sew that together now. to double check that I've done it right before I overlock it. So this is the side seam and here's the pocket. It feels like the opening, once I add that up there, I feel like the opening's a bit small, but I mean, kids have tiny hands, so we're gonna trust the process. It's nighttime. My toddler's asleep. I did other things in the day and forgot about this. So I'm back tonight working on it, and I've already gathered the bottom of the cuff and attached the cuff, and I overlocked the side seams. So now I just need to stitch the side seams together, but we're only going to stitch it up until the cuff, so we're not actually going to stitch the cuff part of it yet. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sew that bit. So that's where I'm going to stop stitching, is just before the start of the cuff right here. Alright, so we're getting close to that cuff. I'm going to go a little bit slower, and then I'll stop just before and do the back stitch. For this bit, we're going to cut in towards the cuff up to that seam that I just stitched, but we don't want to cut through it, we just want to cut right up to it. And then we're going to flip this inside out. Okay, and then with the cuff, because we made that slit in there, we can now turn that out, and then I'll stitch this cuff closed here. So I've just flipped it wrong side again after stitching the cuff closed here, just to have a look at that snip that I did earlier. And let me bring it in even closer. So the next step is to open this up and stitch that down just there, but I'm not sure if I like this because there are still some raw edges that are there. I mean, I know it's the inside of the trousers, and I don't know if it's supposed to be like this or if I did something wrong. I don't know. We'll just stitch it down and keep following the instructions. It is really tricky to sew something that is so little because it doesn't fit over this part of my machine, so I have to like scrunch it up but also try not to get the underside of it. Oh my god, did I already catch it? Fuck, I caught it. No. How much did I catch it? Oh, just like one stitch. Can't believe I caught it already. Gosh, if anybody has any better ideas for not catching or for sewing teeny tiny cuffs, please let me know. I feel like this is just gonna be really tricky. I unpicked it and I made it like a smaller cuff and was able to get my machine to stitch around it a bit easier. I'm still not sure about this inside bit because where I snipped it, let's get close again, there's still like that raw bit, and the seam, like the thread is already starting to come off and unravel a little bit. So I'm not sure if I would do that again next time, or maybe like next time what I would do is I would make the cuff and I would fold it and probably stitch it here like this, and then I would stitch the side seam of the trousers, and then I would add this on top. That way then I have a clean finish on both and I don't have any raw bits. I think the part that's annoying me is I have this little raw bit from the snip. So again, I'm not sure if I just did something wrong or if that's how it's supposed to be, but I was trying to follow the pattern and that's what happened. That's how I interpreted the instructions on the pattern anyways. And maybe next time I might just like not even gather it, I might just like thread some elastic through it. Anyways, let's do the other one. So I've got both of them finished, both of the cuffs finished. So now we're going to attach the two pieces, and to attach them we're going to flip one of them inside out, and then I'm going to put the right side inside the wrong side. We're going to find the two inseams and I'm going to clip those together. And then we'll clip all the way around this side and all the way around that side, and then I'll sew the whole crotch seam. So I've sewn the crotch area and I've top stitched it. So this is where we're at. All I have left to do is the waistband, but like, to be honest, I'm so tired. So I think I'm just gonna call it a night and I'll come back to it another day. It's 2 days later and I'm coming back to this, so all I have to do is add the waistband. Let's go. Next I'm going to add some gathering stitches from one pocket to the other pocket, and I'll gather the front of it. I'm just gonna gather it a little bit by pulling one of the threads, clipped it to the waistband. Now what I'm going to do is just sew around that waistband. And then we're going to take my interfaced waistband, insert it inside. I'm going to line up my seams. And now I'll stitch all around the top of that waistband. Now we're going to stitch around the waistband, leaving gap in the front where the gathers are. So I've got my elastic cut and I'm just going to thread it through the casing of the waistband. I'm threading it until there's like just a little bit of elastic hanging over that side seam. Just going to stitch the elastic down inside the casing at that side seam. Now that that is sewn down, you can still see a little bit of the elastic poking through, so I know that I've definitely caught the elastic in there. I'm going to finish threading it through to the other side seam. Okay, so there is my elastic. I'm just going to take the safety pin off and I'm going to very gently pull that elastic back through, so just a little bit is sticking out again at that side seam. And I'm holding it on the inside just so I make sure I don't lose it. And then I'll stitch that elastic down again at that side seam. And then one thing that you can do if you don't want your elastic to like flip or turn while it's inside the casing is we can stitch it in the middle by pulling the elastic tight, and that will keep the elastic in place and not turn around. Pulling it along as I stitch. And now that will hold the elastic in place and not flip around. So all that we have left to do is just top stitch the front here and we're all finished. There we go, they're all finished. I am really pleased with how these turned out. I think they're really super cute. I would like one in my size now. If you liked this video, please give it a like, maybe a subscribe, maybe leave a comment. Any support that you want to give would be hugely appreciated. If you like sewing content, specifically using sort of upcycled, recycled materials, do stick around, do hit subscribe, because I've got a lot more plans for this channel in the future coming up. So thanks again, bye!